Alright, I have done enough videos about mainstream superhero comics now that I can finally talk about what I really want to talk about. Digimon. This is Digimon, a rather poor condition copy of Digimon the comic number 22 from 2002. This is the British version, distributed by Panini, available from newsagents in 2002. I think these might have been originally from Dark Horse Comics. The ones based on the first season were Dark Horse, but these really lack any credits. These comics, they were an adaptation of the anime, and what proper fucked me off was that they did the first 13 episodes of season 1, and then just jumped to season 2, and did the first 13 episodes of season 2, and then I think they called it quits. They did one original story, and I am also fucked off. I didn't still have that one. They did an issue that was resolving one of the famously unresolved story arcs from season 2. Let's not lie, these comics are aimed chiefly at children. The show itself has this interesting thing where actually that wasn't entirely the case. Well, the dub, they made the first 20 or so episodes of season 1. They made them very, very kid-friendly. They cut out a lot of the violence. They chopped out about 3 dozen references to Satan. They trimmed down a lot of the children in peril stuff. They cut out a lot of references to poo because the Japanese, they bloody love scat. The first bunch of episodes of the English dub of Digimon, they are very lame. They were trying to appeal to the same audience as the Pokémon cartoon. But then about halfway into the story arc with Monkey Elvis, they must have realised it was hard work reworking it so much, and they just stopped making it so kiddie. Later on, one of the bad guys is a Dracula who drains the blood of a random woman on the street in the beginning of one episode. And then there is one based all around Satan and a crotch monster. Season 2, of which this is based, was even more mature, and it didn't have much of the intelligence lowered by the dub. The dub of season 2 is pretty faithful to the original, and the problems with season 2 are, in my opinion, from the original source material, like the Digimon Emperor, for example, this guy with blue hair that changes shade of blue between panels. He was the first villain for season 2. He had about 26 episodes around him as the main baddie. He was a pretty interesting villain. Then they did some proper Karma Houdini shit and tried to redeem him, and he ends up a good guy who they all accept, and he starts draining away screen time from the other characters. And then there is Davis, and he is a terrible character. He is the worst of the main characters in Season 2, and he is the one who is at the front of it all. He dominates every fucking episode. By the end of Season 2, during the World Tour story, you will groan every time it turns out that him and his Digimon arrive at the last minute to save the day. The problem is that Season 2 has two great characters. We have Kari and TK from Season 1. Season 1 had much better characters, but these two are like, they should be the centre of Season 2. They were the youngest ones in Season 1, and in Season 2 they have grown up. TK, he should have been the protagonist, not Davis. Him and Kari are the best characters in Season 2. And yes, I ship them. But it is always about Davis, and to a lesser extent, Ken, the Digimon Emperor. God, who is this video for? Nobody who watches me channel cares about my opinions on Digimon. This comic is for children, so we have some quizzes and games as inserts. These are embarrassingly easy for a 30-year-old man like me. I'm not under any misconceptions. Digimon was always targeted at children, and part of the reason that it did make it outside of Japan was because it had the ability to appeal to the same children as Pokémon. We have got a poster of War Greymon here, which you've got to turn on its side to properly see, and I fucking love doing that. I'm not against taking this out and putting it on me wall. I don't know who drew this. I don't know who adapted this story or who does the art for the main comic. There are no credits. But the first season ones, they had some artists that are like artists that have gone on to do some work for Marvel or DC. We have got a colouring book picture thing. You have got to colour it in. It is Cody in Submarimon. And there is Waymon. And down there, I cannot remember the name of him. He's a baddie. He is white and purple. So then we get back to the story. This is based on an episode of Season 2. I think episode 8 or 9. It is the one where the Digimon Emperor, he takes control of Greymon and transforms them into Skull Greymon. Skull Greymon was an idea that wasn't used anywhere near as much as it should have been in the anime. Skull Greymon, he is like the dark Digivolution of the main Digimon from Season 1. We saw in an episode when he was being neglected and abused and poorly cared for by his trainer. He digivolved into Skull Greymon, and he was like a scary monster who just attacked everyone. We only saw him in that episode, and then again in Season 2 here, when the Digimon Emperor took control of him. I always thought we should have saw more of him. Down here are the main, or the first Digivolutions of the three main Digimon in Season 2. Orcmon, Digmon and Flamedramon. The Digimon partners in Season 2 are very underdeveloped as characters. And they kind of did a dirty to TK and Kari's Digimon. They were nerfed from the get-go and couldn't digivolve into their usual forms of Angemon and Angewomon because they were blatantly too powerful for the plot. So instead they digivolved into these lesser forms, Pegasusmon and Nefetimon, I think is its name. Rosetta Stone, that is her attack. They didn't anticipate that Rosetta Stone would become a thing to learn languages with about a decade later. This has been an appalling review, if I can call it that. I've just been talking about the cartoon and how it is a bit better than most people think. If you are imagining the Pokémon cartoon and thinking Digimon is like that, it's not really. Maybe some of the first episodes, but Digimon, it has some themes that are quite admirable for a children's show. Stuff about depression, existentialism, nihilism, and it's just a lot better than Pokémon. There are proper characters, there are ongoing story arcs, they are like the first season does a tremendous job with having a cast of 14 unique characters, and then later 16. Half of them are humans, and the other half are Digimon. And then also it's got a plethora of supporting characters, like Leomon and Andromon, and Orgamon, who has a character arc. And then there is all the bad guys on top of that. This story is continued next issue / episode. Stay tuned, because I actually still have that one too. And it still has its free stickers included. Digimon is a guilty pleasure of mine. I love some of the designs. I admire a lot of the more serious storytelling efforts that Pokémon never had. And I think one day they will do an English Digimon thing that finally manages to catch the lightning in a bottle. Probably not the current remake of Season 1 though. I give this a 7 Digidestined thumbs up.